Hey Parcells, we're back with number 2. I apologize for that, running out of time. So we're back with our example 2, letter D, finishing up here. So remember, we were taking a look at numbers that we like to group together. We first put them, we may change the order using the commutative property. So on letter D, I put 13 and 87 because I like to add those two numbers together. And then I group them, again, using the associative property. And now using order of operations we can solve. 13 plus 87 gives me a beautiful number, 100. And of course, adding 114 together, we can do this mentally. We get the answer of 114. So those are the first three properties. Commutative means to change the order. Associative means to change the groups. Identity means you can add 0 or multiply by 1 and the identity stays the same. I've got one more property for you. This is the distributive property. And if you think about the word distribute, and in class you may have heard me, give a little here, give a little there. So you're distributing the outside number evenly, and there's a couple of things we can do here to make it, again, more easy for us to use mental math. So if you take a look at the top, here's an example of the distributive property. If you're multiplying 6 times something in parentheses, so a quantity of 9 plus 14. Now order of operations tells us to first do what's inside the parentheses, so we do 9 plus 14, which is 23, and then to multiply outside of the parentheses, which would be 6. So 23 times 6 may not be too easy for us. And the distributive property says, instead of doing that, what you can do is distribute the outside number to the numbers that are inside the parentheses. So instead of doing 9 plus 14 first and then multiply by 6, you can distribute the 6 and multiply it by the 9, and then you can add when you multiply 6 times 14. And this way, it may, in this, you're looking, again, to do a little bit of more mental math, so that may help you out. Here's another example over here. We have 8 on the outside multiplying by the quantity of 5 minus 2. So again, instead of solving inside the parentheses first, you can distribute evenly that outside number. And I strongly suggest when you're doing these problems to put these arrows, because a lot of times what students do is they do a good job of multiplying the 8 times the 5. And again, this is a subtraction problem, so we put the subtraction problem here. But sometimes they forget to distribute the 8 all the way back over to the 2. And then we just break it up into 2 smaller multiplication problems. And the same holds true for algebra. Okay? Again, A times the quantity of B plus C will give you the exact same answer as if you distributed that A and did A times B plus A times C. So let's take a look down here. If we look at letter A, if we have a number outside parentheses, this is indicating this is a multiplication problem. And what I would like you to do here is, instead of multiplying 6 by this really big number 54, can you think of another way of writing 54 with numbers that make it a little bit more manageable for us? For example, isn't 54 the same as 50 plus 4? Obviously it is. Okay, so instead of doing 6 times 54, we can use the distributive property to break up this big number on the inside and make it a little bit more manageable. And hopefully you're realizing I again chose a number that ends in a 0 because I just like those numbers. So let's use the distributive property here to solve. Again, we're going to take that outside value and multiply it across both values that are inside the parentheses, and we would get 6 times 50, and then we're adding 6 times 4. Now looking at that, hopefully you're seeing that this is a little bit more manageable. 6 times 50 is 300, and 6 times 4 is 24. Again, we are able to solve this using mental math. I get an answer of 324. Take a look at letter B. Can you think of another way to write 72 using some numbers that might be a bit more manageable? Now, I want to tell you there is more than one way to do this. I'm looking at this and saying, well, another way to write 72 would be 70 plus 2. Someone else may be thinking something totally different, but as long as what's inside your parentheses adds up to 72, in a minute you'll see that we can also do a subtraction problem. We'll all still get the same answer. So find numbers that work best for you, and then let's distribute them. I have 8 times 70 plus, distribute, 8 times 2. And using mental math, I know that 8 times 70 is 560 plus 8 times 2, which is 16. And I can add those two together, and I get 576. Mental math. It's a beautiful thing. Now, let me try a different one here. Look at C. C, I'm multiplying 7 times 99, which is a difficult mental math problem. But what we can do is, let's rewrite 99 in a different way. Now, you may be thinking, 90 plus 9? That works. What about 100 minus 1? Do you like multiplying by 100? Do you like to multiply by 1? Then this might be an easier solution. Of course, you can still do 90 plus 9, but for me personally, I like this a little bit better. So I'm going to distribute that outside 7. 7 times 100 is 700 minus this time, look at that operation in the parentheses, I'm going to subtract this time, and I'm going to distribute that 7 again. 7 times 1 is 7. And 700 minus 7 is 693. One more. Let's rewrite 49. Now you may be thinking 40 plus 9, and that obviously will give me the same answer. I'm thinking 50 minus 1. Again, I like those numbers that end in 0, and of course I like 1. And I'm going to distribute 9 times 50. 450. Again, that inside operation is a subtraction problem this time. So I'm going to subtract and distribute 9 times 1. We get 441. Fabulous. So, again, you need to have 2 skills down. 1, look at an equation and know what property is being used, and 2, actually apply the properties and justify your work as you are moving along. So Panthers, because this video is a little bit long, we have 2 parts. I've got a joke for you, and I'll give you the answer tomorrow. I wonder if you can tell me, why did the math book look so sad? Think about it, and I'll give you the answer tomorrow. Again, I would strongly suggest that once you have your notes filled out, go back and watch the videos again without writing anything down and just listening. And make sure you do the try it problems on the bottom of your notes, and if you have trouble with those, link to the online textbook and go to the tutorial videos, which will help you out. And of course, if you have any questions or you're confused, make sure you bring your questions to class tomorrow. Have a good night, Panthers.